Hey everyone, this week we're talking about grapefruit before summer's completely gone. Stay tuned. Alright, I'm down here at the port, so I hope you can hear me over all of the birds that are surely going to eat me. Oh my gosh. They're surely going to eat me before the end of this video. So grapefruit. This is one of my favorite notes, has been since I got into this because of a fragrance I'll talk about in a little while, but it's also extremely versatile. As you're gonna see here, there's a lot of different ways in which you can use grapefruit. I think probably the most typical way that you're gonna find it is what you'd expect, kind of a fresh, little bit of a bitterness, but a little bit of sweetness there as well, sour sort of fragrance. Though it does kind of add a watery element to a lot of fragrances that it's put in. So I've got about 11 fragrances here. I'm just gonna run through them real quick. I've kind of ranked them from most to least favorite, and so we'll kick them off here, starting off actually with one that's outside of that ranking, and that's Symphony from Louis Vuitton, because I've got a sample of it here. Symphony is part of their like X8 line. So this is one of their like really expensive ones. And to look at the notes, you might think that it's like a little bit of Tigar, because it's grapefruit, bergamot, and ginger, I believe, are kind of like the main notes in this. I mean, it's like everything else Louis Vuitton does. This is just so beautiful. It has kind of whatever, I'm sure they have a captive molecule that they use in all of their fragrances that kind of just gives it this, it smells rich. Like with the notes I said, it shouldn't smell this elegant, this classy. Oh, but it absolutely does. I mean, this is really beautiful. It actually smells pretty realistic, but not just like you're smelling the fruits and ginger. Like this is a blend. So it all comes together very cohesively into this soft, slightly sweet, but not very sweet, watery and bitter fragrance. Symphony is a great name for it because it really is. They're really working. All of these things are kind of working together, orchestrating to make this just beautiful, light, airy, soft symphony. I think this one probably, if you polled 100 guys, they would probably tend to say that it leans a little bit more feminine. I do not care at all. I would smell this in any capacity that I can. It drives me crazy that every Louis Vuitton I smell smells so good because, man, I don't want to spend that kind of money to get Louis Vuittons. So if you know a hookup for some good cheap Louis Vuittons, especially Symphony, man. Symphony and Stellar Times. I mean, they have a whole bunch of really great stuff, but those two in particular, whoo, doggy. All right, moving on. We are starting here at the bottom of the list with a release from 2022, Azzaro Sport. If you want to talk about unnecessary releases, this has to be dang near the top of it. When you have the same company that makes Chrome and all of those flankers, why would you need a sport fragrance? And one that is unremarkable. This is fine. Ironically, I don't even know if I would say that this is like really, really sporting. Like this to me smells kind of more like just a inexpensive signature scent. Like this is kind of in the same vein as like a Nautica Voyage. That kind of just light, watery, airy, fresh, nondescript, unremarkable. All these sayings, and basically this is probably the only video that this fragrance ever gets any love on, unless it's a video about fragrances that I'm kind of middling on or don't like, because this one's fine. I would never spray it on myself because there's a million things out there that I actively like. So this is just a weird one because it's like, man, you guys have Chrome, which is targeting the same sort of function for the fragrance. I feel like that's what Chrome does, but Chrome with its lavender and whatever else, it just comes across as so much more appealing than this. This comes across as kind of cheap and boring, unremarkable, soft, a little bit laundry, but not like laundry that like really draws you in, just kind of like, this is kind of like an assurance. If someone walked past you and smelled this, you go, okay, they're probably clean. So I guess in the instance of sports, not a bad idea. Something that smells generically clean. All right, next up is another one that is kind of a letdown for me, and that's Cool Water Grapefruit and Sage. This came out a couple of years ago. I think it was like maybe 2022 as well, or something like that. Maybe it was 2023. And I'm not like crazy about Cool Water. I remember back in the day when I would smell it, I thought it was like stunning and amazing, but it's kind of become generic at this point because it's been around long enough and it's unremarkable. This is better than regular Cool Water, but Grapefruit and Sage, I don't really get either of those, to be honest with you. I mean, you kind of have this watery sort of thing going on. I assume that's what they're kind of going after with the grapefruit, but the sage, I really don't get very much herbaceousness in this at all. Like, this kind of just smells like generically sweet water. Again, this is the sort of thing I'd probably like. This would be great for like a teenager. I feel like it's not bad. It's just unremarkable, uninteresting, which is why it ranks low to me. It's fine, but I'm not going to wear it when I've got a million other things that, like, even just the stuff on this list that does the same thing, just way better. I don't know. This release to me, I was kind of stoked. I was like, oh, this could be something really interesting, but it's boring. It's unremarkable. Cool Water, Grapefruit and Sage. This is not for me. Fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's not bad. It's not off-putting. It's not fun. All right, you know what is fun is the next one here, which this one, definitely the grapefruit is a background player, very much supporting cast, but that is Dolce & Gabbana's The One. I have the Eau de Parfum here, though I suspect that a lot of the others in the line probably have a similar note as well. In contrast to the fragrances I've just been talking about, boy, I love The One. I've loved this since the first time I smelled it. I immediately was like, yup, I get it. That is like very enticing, very appealing. Though in this case, the grapefruit, this I think is adding probably some sort of textural sweetness, bitterness to it a little bit. Because it is like a softly sweet fragrance. The tobacco in here, which is probably like the big player. I feel like there's a lot of tobacco and amber and the spices and stuff like that. So my guess is that like the grapefruit is kind of acting as a supporting player here to kind of balance out and give a little bit of sweetness to some of those other notes, kind of fill them out. I mean, what can I say about this fragrance that hasn't been said a million other times? But this is just such a great date night fragrance. The fact that it also only lasts I mean, honestly, it lasts longer on me than I feel like it lasts on other people, which is weird because normally fragrances last shorter on me than other people. But I think you get a good 3 or 4 hours out of this, that's all you want from a date night fragrance. At that point, theoretically, she's kissing you, so if it's too strong, it's gonna be off-putting. I love this one a lot. I need to talk more about this line. I wish I could get a bottle of the One Luminous Night. I'm so ticked that I didn't get it when it was out because I got Mysterious Night and Royal Night, so I'm just missing the One Luminous Night. So if you want to sell your bottle of One Luminous Night to me, let me know. I'm aware that there's a Fragrance World clone. Fragrance World meh also. It's not really completing the set if you get a clone to finish off the set. So, all right, moving on. All right, next up for me certainly has to rank in the top, near the top of any list of like easy gym frags, and that is Hugo Boss Reversed. This one, I've described it as cyber fruits, I think, before. Yeah, that's fitting. So this is synthetic. You're not going to be getting a photorealistic fruit with this one, but in spite of that, it's still very appealing. It doesn't smell cheap, even though it's fairly inexpensive. I think you can pick up this for less than 30 bucks if you find it at Ross. But the scent itself comes across as this like really bright, fruity, but like the reason I say cybery is because you're like clearly there's something unreal about this. This is not a natural fruit, but it still smells like a fruit. I'm still convinced that this is some sort of a fruit, but it just doesn't smell like a natural one. It smells like it came out of Cyberpunk 2027 or 2077. But for me, oh, such a great scent. The way it like kind of expands out when you get heated up. I think this is a very, very well constructed fragrance that works really great in the heat, because once it does that, like it kind of, like I've just said, it expands out the freshness, the kind of wateriness, and it's a really unique scent. I know this gets compared a lot to Elysium. I really don't think that they're that similar. I think like if you really wanted to, you could say that maybe there's some super distant relation, but I think I may even said before that I could see them like this being a flanker or something like that, but I don't even think that's the case. They both have grapefruit, incidentally, but they're not that similar. So I think if you're looking for like a cheaper alternative to Elysium, this isn't really what you're looking for. But I still think it's one worth owning because I love to wear this one, especially in the summertime. The grapefruit in this one, like the part of it is that grapefruit always, or typically can add just this nice little level of bitterness. The bitterness can balance out all of those other sweet notes and things like that. Does a great job here. All right, dipping a little bit more mature here with Encre Noire Sport. This one, I think typically is people's favorite in the line, if not a l'extreme. I think it's good. It's not my favorite in the line, but even my least favorite in the line is more favorite than a lot of other fragrances. So while this isn't my favorite in the line, it's actually the least favorite in my line, in the line, the Encre. Actually, no, that's not true. Encre Indigo is my now least favorite in the line, even though I friggin' love that opening, but it just doesn't stack up to the other three, even though the other three are pretty similar. Encre Noire Sport. I still love this. So the vetiver that's used in the Encre Noire line is just this really dark, inky, black, sort of dry, bitter vetiver. And in the a l'extreme, they add the incense, so it becomes this even smokier thing. In the regular, it just is kind of that black ink that the name implies. But in Sport, they add grapefruit. In the context here, the thing that you realize and discover here is that grapefruit goes incredibly well with vetiver. Typically, if you see grapefruit, you're also going to see vetiver paired with it. There's just something about the grassy notes that go really, really well with the kind of wet, the watery, bitter-sweet grapefruit. So that's exactly what you get here. Sport, don't know if that's the right name. This isn't the sort of thing I'd put on right before I go play a game of soccer. But it is a lighter, airier, waterier, more watery version of the Encre Noire line that a lot of people do find a little bit more of an easy entry point into the line. I will say this. I don't think that this is that much easier than regular Encre Noire or a l'extreme. If you don't like one, you're probably not going to like the other ones, but I think that you should buy one of them and sit with it, because I think it's a great note, and if you can kind of like wrap your head around it and come to appreciate it, you will really enjoy it a lot more, especially because vetiver is in a million fragrances, so having an appreciation, liking that note will help you like more fragrances. Though this one, I think it is an interesting kind of when you do a side-by-side, and I have a video where I compared the three of these in the original line. Doing a side-by-side, you notice that this one is decidedly more watery when you go next to them. So the grapefruit is actually doing quite a bit of lifting here. What a beautiful bottle too. Anyway, Encre Noire Sport, you can get this for less than 30 bucks, and it is absolutely a reference. This whole line is incredible. If you don't own it, you should. All right, next up, one of my favorite pickups from this year that I have talked about quite a bit, and I've actually already worn a substantial amount, and that is Turathi Blue from Afnan. I won't talk about this one because I've talked about it pretty recently. I'll just say Ambroxan, ginger, and grapefruit. What a simple combo that really just sings a song, man. Like, man, every time I smell this DNA, I like it more. And that has only become more true since the last time I talked about this in a video. I keep wearing it. This is only a 90 ml bottle, but it also gets shorter, and I'm already down to like here. So I mean, it's ripping through. I'm going through it at a decent clip because it's just like one of those easy dumb reaches where you can grab it. It's not going to be overpowering. It's not going to kill anyone, but it smells really good. So I'll keep this one short since I've talked about it a lot recently, but Turathi Blue, it's great. All right, let's revisit the king of summer, in my opinion. That is Elysium Pour Homme. This one, I think I described it as like, kind of like exotic fruits that you've never smelled before. I think that's really fitting. It's interesting, as I've kind of improved my nose, I've gotten to understand I can actually kind of pick more stuff out of this. But the thing I want to draw attention to and appreciate about Roja's fragrances is the blend. It's hard in Roja fragrances to pick out individual notes. You can, but it's hard to pick them out because typically they're just so well blended. Everything comes together into one cohesive note. That's just this beautiful painting. And I think that's really the case here. As I have improved my nose, though, it's interesting. I can actually pick out really strongly the ISO-E Super. I'm pretty sure it's ISO-E Super because it has kind of this pencil shaving sort of woodsy thing going on. But I think that just makes this more fitting. This is kind of that bright, watery, not cyber fruit, but future exotic fruits. And having that watery kind of tropical element on top of a nice base of woods. It's really beautiful. I mean, it really, really is a stunning fragrance. There are clones that do a decent job. I am not a fan of the fragrance world. I would find a different clone. Just think that one, something about it, I think it's cheap, doesn't work well. So, but Elysium, man, this is worth it. I think it's worth having in your collection. I think owning the real deal in this case, in my opinion, is worth it just because it's an incredible creation. And I like to support the artists when they do something like this. This feels wholly unique. I really do celebrate this fragrance. It's really, really special. All right, those are kind of the main ones, but I do have 3 quick hits. They're all kind of related. Funny enough, they all have different bottle sizes. So what I've got for you here is a collection of light blues. So I'll get a better picture up there, but I've got the original light blue Pour Homme Eau de Toilette, which my cousin gave me. I've got light blue Forever, which I bought after I bought light blue Italian Love. This line for me, very special. If you haven't heard before, I had a post-COVID reception that my wife and I did outdoors, and I wore Italian Love to that, which I'll get to that. Let's start off with the original, which I guess came out in 2008. That's wild to me. I thought it came out in like the 90s. The original light blue, that's fine. Was never like my thing, but it's just kind of that. I think this is like a better version of CK1. Is a good way to describe it. Like, this is a more interesting, it's got a little bit more tartness, a little bit more bitterness from the citruses. It's not just grapefruit in this, there's a bunch of citruses, so it's kind of hard because they all run together. This is more of just kind of that soft, watery, powdery blend. I know powdery and watery don't really seemingly go together, but the magic of fragrances is that you can have notes that do those, and so when you combine them, you go, wait a minute, how's it both? It kind of is. I think the original light blue is fine. It doesn't set my world on fire. Came out after that, but before Italian Love was light blue Forever, and I think light blue Forever is very, very similar. If you can get either of them, I would. The reason why is because this is, I think, the best grapefruit in fragrances. Most photorealistic. But then when you add into it, yeah, these smell very similar. Forever and Italian Love, I think it's a difference without a distinction. So I say get one, and the reason why It's such a beautiful grapefruit. It smells photorealistic. It's kind of like a Fresca, or so I guess photorealistic is a soda pop, but it reminds me of like a Fresca or a Squirt or something like that, one of those like grapefruit sodas. But then it has this, the vetiver is in here for sure, so it has this kind of grassy foundation to it that's holding it all together, and there's like this like kind of almost peppery note to it, like a soft spice to it. So you have this like what smells like a realistic grapefruit, this kind of like soft grassy earthiness underneath it, and then kind of just this like vibe of spiciness, which makes it feel masculine. It's hard to describe. When you smell it, you go, oh yeah, that's something I've smelled before, like in men's fragrances. So this works out just beautifully. You know what's funny is, I feel like with a little bit of tweaks, you could turn this into almost like a pine or like a balsam fir sort of fragrance. The way grapefruit and vetiver play together almost comes across as like a sort of conifer woods sort of smell. Fascinating. I am sad that Italian Love and Light Blue Forever were only limited edition flankers. I think they are both, especially Italian Love, they're so similar, but I really like Italian Love. They are like so wonderful, and they're doing grapefruit in a way that I feel like I haven't smelled it in other fragrances. Granted, there's a million things I haven't smelled before, but I've never smelled anything exactly like this, and I really enjoy that. Grapefruit, like I mentioned before, always has been one of my favorite sorts of flavors and smells. So having it in fragrance is just one of those things that I gravitate to. And it works out so well for summertime. It's just so nice and refreshing. The way that like it doesn't have all the sweetness that you get from other fruits. That bitterness that's in grapefruit kind of really helps ground it, makes it feel more realistic, kind of. It doesn't feel unnaturally sweet. It feels really, really enjoyable. So, I love grapefruit. What are some other amazing uses of grapefruit that you've run across? Because I would love to check them out. But yeah, summer here, we're getting close to the end of it, so we're gonna be talking about fall fragrances here pretty soon. That being said, I have actually ordered some of the fragrances that I'm gonna be getting that we're gonna do for the giveaway for my 1,000 subscriber special, which is still coming. I'm gonna keep talking about it because I'm not letting it go. We're doing it, we're doing the giveaway. I'm excited about it, I'm looking forward to it. So, but I am buying it with my own money, so it's just taking a little more time because, you know, I'm not made of money. So, with all of that said, I am so grateful that you came and joined me this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some value out of it. If you did, please leave me a comment below. Like I said, leave me a comment if you got suggestions for other grapefruit fragrances, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.